What is will? What is free will? Does man have free will? I used to see this as a yes or no question. I think this question is far more complex than to warrant only two outcomes, either a yes or a no. It is said that God created all things for his purposes, and that in everything we ought to give thanks for our circumstances. I still said circumstances. So the translation is not too far off, as long as you understand the thought pattern behind give thanks in everything. This is an intimate audio, which still may be a video that I post somewhere. Man is free to choose his will, but will is will. If you have a derelict will, shall you or your family survive well? Wow. No, you will not live well. You will not survive well. Your dereliction of will lead to dereliction of circumstances. Not all circumstances are directly tied to our will. We live in a community, a very complex and disorganized and disorderly community, because it's not one community, it's a lot of overlapping communities that make a much larger, greater community. The universalization of the world is what I am referring to, because all of the world is a single community of human beings. But that's, again, a very disorganized and disorderly single community. That's why we have so many wars. Even in our own communities, which we are born into, we have wars. This is why our families are not always the most healthy. I'm not ready to end this video, but I also don't want to fill it with a bunch of silent time. Video and audio are practically the same for me because I'm a living, breathing human being, and my video is what I perceive through my eyes and through my existential experience. If I close my eyes, the video doesn't turn off. It just shades to black. But my living space is still very much so a living, oriented, orderly, and organized existential video. I can treat these recordings as push to talk. This also introduces time dilation. That's just an interesting idea to me because the experience of the video, if I ever even choose to share this intimate video, is not going to be the same experience of mine. I'm seeking to pass on my words to my future ears, and the time of pondering, it's not something that needs to be recorded for myself or anyone. It's not really that interesting. It's just empty space. This makes this audio video more like a inside voice and outside voice as I gather my thoughts. Off camera is my microphone not being operated as a camera at this point, with internal self-editing. Hopefully there's not too much operator error as I press play, give the internal mechanisms of this magic lantern as I heard from somewhere, this strange device which I hold in my hand, which has so many capabilities and so many things, for so many things, and in so many ways enriches your life. This immediately brings me back to will. My will is to increase my capacity for good, increase my capacity for internal orderliness. I want organized thoughts so that when I get low, because that's just part of the human experience, everything doesn't always go your way. You don't have to throw a temper tantrum, although that may suit or aid your circumstances for improving. But tempers oftentimes flare out of control. A tantrum is already a chaotic word, typically associated with either the very immature or the one that doesn't have very many options. Bless your kids. But as a 40-year-old man, I desire to have intelligent, chaotic tantrums at this point. This is the will of a man. This is the will of a father. This is the will of a human being who claims oneness. And I do mean claim as in taking with my hands oneness with God. As I boldly approach the throne and treat my grasping with the hand of altar elements as if I was entitled to do so, seeking to do so with the utmost of honor, regard, and respect for everything that I believe to be good. But I said a father's right is his strength. So, the capacity to evade operator error is not perfect. What human being can claim precision of action, bumbo hozon divianda, other than God? There was a man who walked around in a flesh suit. I must call it that. That man's name is Yeshua. This man, from all observations, lacked everything and constantly testified that he was alone, even though he was surrounded by 12 men that followed him around everywhere. Oh, wow, is that a deep thought? Because the existential experience of a human being, his testimony, does not need to intimidate me, but it should charge me with even deeper regard for the deepness of a God that's willing to walk around with other human beings who are clearly, I must say, beneath him. But people misperceive God when he says, as a loving creator, you are beneath me. He's the first, he's the Alpha. He intends to be under us too. So he has also placed you above him insofar as his regard is concerned, which is why he walked around and had 12 men that he passed on everything that they were capable of taking from him. They were all masculine men. When I use the term man, I don't mean to imply that women, woman, is excluded. How could a woman be excluded? She's not. She's just a different type of man. The first testimony of the first created earthman, because I read elsewhere there are men elsewhere. I need not say more, because what does elsewhere mean? Who knows? Who cares? I care. I have thoughts. I don't have that much illumination into what elsewhere really means. If I spend more time talking about elsewhere, you could say empty terms like heaven, but I assure you heaven is not empty. If heaven is the living space of a divine and good God, mustn't it be full? Is it more full than the earth is? I don't know that you can say that other than there are elements of heaven which are eternal in comparison to the earth, which very clearly had a beginning. The beginning of heaven only starts with saying that it has a beginning from the Alpha. TikTok is about free moments, free space. This is not appropriate for a TikTok video. This would be very appropriate for a YouTube video, though. If I choose to put this on YouTube, I'm pretty sure that's where it will go. And I'm certainly leaning towards willing that this is posted on YouTube and not on TikTok. What other ponderings and cogitations do I have regarding these thoughts? I'd listen to a 20-minute video, but it's not that organized. Or maybe it's just as organized as it needs to be, because if you are interested in ideas such as self-will, God, creation, goodness, and love, maybe you find sufficient interest in a video like this that is full of only that data. Sermon in the Valley. I have a clear valley experience. Oh, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff comforts me. A rod and a staff are shepherd implements. A peaceful shepherd with great love for his herd uses the rod and the staff to manage his herd. Speech is so interesting that when you say herd, I also hear heard. Who hears me? Who is capable of hearing me? Only the individual who is like me and has existential experiences from their learned past where they can relate with anything that I am uttering out of my mouth hole. And again, whole, H-O-L-E. I do sing and tend to produce whole utterances, W-H-O-L-E. Word is contiguous. You can find meaning in anything. People hear what they desire to hear. They hear what they love. What they love is what they have encouraged and have all of the evidence with their own eyes, which they have gathered with their own eyes, that tells them that the life that they live, the understandings that they have in this world where they exist in such a format that's consistent with all of their thinking patterns. One may claim boldly that all of their thinking patterns are coherent, contiguous, and healthy, but that's the type of statement that should be uttered with quite a bit of RESPECT, because at some point, something will come to test that will. And if that one has greater strength than you, all of your contiguous, coherent, well-uttered, wise understandings, because mustn't you be claiming to be wise to claim that all of your thinking patterns are of the utmost of health? I assure you, friend, you will find one that has stronger thoughts, stronger resolve at some point. At some point, even if through no other means than this person has a moment of a tantrum that coincides with your low point. If you are a living, breathing human being interacting with other living, breathing human beings, at some point you were bested. At some point you were bested. But you need not be bested by a human being. Even Yeshua, when he delivered himself over to